Good afternoon. There were a couple of things I wanted to touch on today, and I figured making another recording the day after I already did a few is good to get me habituated to the behavior pattern so I can do this more regularly and maybe build up a greater audience. So, as you can see, I nicked myself shaving today, so that is unsightly and annoying, but I myself am unsightly and sometimes annoying, so it's par for the course, I guess. So, yeah, there are a few things on my mind. One of the main things being Trump, seeing as, well, it was not a long time ago where everyone was decrying Trump as the next Hitler, or at least the mainstream media sources available in Ireland were, and most of the rest of the developed world. And obviously, the useful idiot peasants were just parroting whatever they heard on television as usual. And what, it's like 2 years into his presidency now, and well, he's been busy. He's been busy. People were saying he was going to be getting involved in more wars of aggression. Oh, how many wars of aggression did he start? Zero. And he's withdrawing troops from Afghanistan officially and Syria at the same time. And at the same time, he's getting flack over it from people who were previously anti war when Trump wasn't making decisions that amounted to anti militarism. So, yeah, I'm finding that more amusing. I mean, yeah, sure, he had talks with North Korea and South Korea and is helping them find harmony with each other and bring that region to a more peaceful climate. But this is not, or that was not as monumental as withdrawing from Syria and Afghanistan, because Obama didn't even seem to want to remove troops from Afghanistan, and he certainly wanted to invade Syria with more elaborate excursions and greater commitments of troops. So, yeah, I just find that funny how, well, Obama won a peace prize for what? Because he's black? I mean, that's literally the only reason I can think of, because as far as being a peace generator or even an honorable political actor, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite, because he was someone deep in the pockets of George Soros, and he was when he was running, he was the candidate most heavily supported by financial institutions. And, well, we all know how that turned out, didn't it? Huge bailouts for everyone. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was just a coincidence, really. He's a cool guy. He plays basketball, smokes weed sometimes. He even took cocaine in college and admitted to it in his book. Oh my god. But when George Bush Jr. was apparently guilty of the same things, it was all, finger pointing accusatory bullshit. Even though not a big fan of the neocons, but at least Bush was amusing. I mean, I couldn't even stand watching Obama because he was so good at being a weasel. I mean, he was enjoyable to listen to. He was a fantastic speaker, still is, and seems like a likable guy, but at the same time, it's just when you know who's funding him, when you know who he's doing favors for, it's kind of hard to see past the bullshit facade that he puts on. And I mean, I wasn't a George Bush fan. I wasn't a Bill Clinton fan. When I was younger, I didn't fucking pay attention to politics other than in The Simpsons. I didn't like George Bush Sr. because he was Homer's enemy in The Simpsons. That's about as political as I got so far back in time. But I just think it's fucking hilarious how still people try to be anti-Trump. I mean, the fact that he is now the president of peace is one thing, but just his economic policy, the fact that he's generating jobs, the fact that he's putting China in its place, and people just want to ignore it so they can continue shitting on the man. I mean, what president in the lives of any of the people alive now who are criticizing him, what American president has had such a positive impact? What American president has had such respectable, effective policies, and all within the first 2 years of his presidency? I would submit that nobody, and that Trump is doing a damn good job, and people just don't want to admit it because they're biased cowards who can't think and have their internal dialogues programmed for them by big money media corporations and the people funding those and feeding the narratives into news media organizations like George Soros and the over 30 news organizations that he has a serious influence on. I mean, there are articles on this, go look it up. I mean, in future I can maybe cite sources in my little talkie videos, but the more I have to cite my sources specifically, and the more I have to dig up loads of links for like every word that comes out of my mouth, the less willing I am to do this. So you have Google. If you don't believe me, look it up. That is true. Okay, it's probably even in one of my articles. I've written like one article very much about George Soros and a few that mention him, so that's one of the facts that might even be in there. But you can use a Google search, you can use DuckDuckGo, actually even better, because fuck Google, and you can verify what I'm saying, and if I'm wrong, well, then tell me and I will admit that I was wrong. If ever I am, I will admit that. I don't claim infallibility. I'm a human being, but I'm a decently enough well-read one, so I generally don't open my mouth unless I have a point